Welcome to part 4 of the Art of Motivation webinar series, Persistence is Key, with Sandy Adams. Sandy is a two-time alumna from the University of Memphis with a Master of Arts in Teaching and a Bachelor's in International Relations. Sandy produces two podcasts, The Sandy Adams Show, where she teaches about business, life, and everything in between, and A Southern Girl's View with Sandy Adams that focuses on ordinary people with interesting lives and stories. Sandy's vast experience and 25 plus years of interactions with people from all walks of life and in all facets of the corporate world have demonstrated to her that mindset and motivation are critical to a person's success. Sandy is an award winning portrait photographer, social media brand strategist, writer, educator, historian, world traveler, and speaker. She recently located back to Memphis from Houston and is eager to get involved in the University of Memphis and the Memphis greater community once again. Welcome, Sandy Adams.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the fourth episode in our Art of Motivation in Job Search webinar series. And today we're obviously talking about persistence is key. So just a little bit, if you have questions, hold those until the end, and I'll try to stop about 15 minutes before the class is to end so that you have time to ask those questions. We are going to be ending at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time today. I'd love to know right now if you'll type into the chat box, where are you watching us from today? So if you would just type that in the chat box. If you're watching from the Memphis area or another city or state, I'd love to know that. So if you just take just a moment to type into the chat box where you are watching from. Yes, Memphis. I'm sure there's a lot of Memphis people in here. Graduate student housing, Long Beach, California. Kevin, welcome. Good to see everybody in here. Working remotely from Olive Branch. Hey, that's okay. Nashville even, great. Good, you guys just keep typing that in there. We've got somebody from Urbana, Illinois. I've never heard of that city before. As Willie said, I'm Sandy Adams. I'm your instructor for today. I'm a social media brand strategist, photographer, world traveler, teacher, speaker, podcast host. You name it, I probably have done it. And so far in our webinar series, for those that maybe have not been to any or all of the previous ones, we have the very first one was delving into mindset, self-confidence, and self-esteem. The second portion of our webinar series was the energy component. And then last month, we did what role direction plays in your motivation. And today, as Willie said and I announced, it's persistence is key in motivation. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. So what we're going to learn today, you're going to learn what is persistence exactly. We're going to talk about how persistence is different from motivation, because they are very different, why persistence is actually very important, ways to actually develop it, and how it all relates to job search. So as I've talked about in our previous webinars, we're going to talk about general life and also specifically get into job search at the end of the class today. Thomas Edison, he was kind of a wise man, did a lot of things. He had a great quote, because when I was thinking about what quote, I always like to take quotes and start off my presentations with. And I was trying to figure out which quote to use. And so I'm actually going to start today's class with a quote, and I'm going to end today's class with a different quote. So he says, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to always try just one more time." And for all the years that I've been working with the public, working with students, working with all facets of the corporate world, that is one thing that I've really witnessed. It's so easy for people just to give up. In fact, it's easier to give up. And sometimes we just do it for whatever reasons, for different reasons. We do it out of habit. We do it because we just don't have the energy. So many different things. We've been trained to just give up. We've been trained to just do one thing, or it's fear in itself. So I see that quite a lot. Now, persistence is not motivation. And I want to be clear about that. It's not motivation. Persistence is actually the act or the fact of stubbornly continuing to do something. That I used to say, my great grandmother, she used to be like that. Like she was just stubborn. She would just not give up. Or a dog with a bone, they will not let go of that bone at all. And that is really a good example of persistence. So how is persistence different from motivation though? So motivation is really short-lived. It's something that you get like a burst of energy, or like drinking one of those 5-hour drink things that give you that caffeine fix quickly. It has peaks and valleys, and then it can be gone. So your motivation may be high one day, low the next, and then the next day just totally gone. So that's what motivation is not always equal. And it wears off just like your coffee wears off. If you drink coffee in the mornings with a lot of caffeine, you know, by that mid-afternoon, you get what's called that mid-afternoon slump. Motivation is like that. It can wane just like anything else, especially when you encounter obstacles, or other people are talking and suggesting maybe you do something else, or you don't have your direction in place, you don't have that energy. Motivation can wear off very, very easily. The other thing is it needs to be constantly renewed or restarted. Now, how many of you out there, I want you to put this into the chat box, how many of you out there have a daily issue with your motivation? Just say yes if you do. If you have a daily problem with your motivation. Okay, great. Not great, but thank you for answering that. And a lot of people do. It's a natural thing to have problems with your motivation, or probably you would not be attending this webinar today. Now, persistence, it can really be explained as you actually on autopilot. That's a great way to explain persistence. You on autopilot, just doing the work, regardless of your mood, your feelings, or your perceived outcome. That's really what persistence is about. You just get up and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you don't think about what else is going to happen. Now, why is persistence? It's called the key to success. If you look at any successful person out there, any success story, persistence is going to be the main factor in how they succeeded. But why is it the key? See, persistence separates the winners from the losers. And I hate to use the word losers, but if you use winners, it's the opposite. And persistence is what pushes one person over that end game, that final, I'm trying to think of the marathon title, finish line. It's where persistence pushes one person over that finish line, but it makes the other person quit in like mile 22. It's also known as determination, or having that can-do attitude. You've seen those, you've heard of those people that like they can do anything, and they're just like Rocky, ready to go, running up those steps, and they just continue to feel like that. See, it is the prerequisite of all successful action. Persistence is that. In order to be successful, persistence has to exist. It has to. You're never going to be successful over one attempt. You're never going to be successful over contacting one person or trying to do one thing. I mean, you might learn how to get up on water skis on the first try, okay? But the second time may not work as well. So whereas to be successful at water skiing on one ski, you need to keep doing it in order to get up every single time. So it's not necessarily about, oh, I did it one time, so I can do it every time. Now, persistence, if you are persistent and you have this in you and you've trained yourself to do this, that is a powerful thing. Leaders in companies, in wherever you work, or where your spouses work, or your teachers, wherever it is, persistence is power. And those people that have that persistence, they make the best leaders. They also are good at getting things accomplished and encouraging others to get things accomplished. So now let's look at persistence can be developed. Like I said, it can. You can train yourself to actually develop a persistent attitude or persistent actions. And we're going to talk about 8 ways, and I'm sure there's more than that, but we're going to specifically talk about 8 ways that you can develop persistence. So, number 1, don't just try one time, repeat your efforts. See, you might be doing all the right things, but perhaps you're not doing them at the right time. That is a lot of what's involved in job search. You know, you may be contacting a person and they may just not have any job openings at that time. And so they feel no reason to respond to you. But you give up, not knowing that the next day somebody is going to quit or they're going to create another job. When I was working in corporate America and I was working in a department, I was the billing manager for this small company. And we had multiple locations, and I had been asking the owner repeatedly that I needed an accounting manager at another facility that could kind of oversee everything. And he would not respond. Now, at the same time, I was getting calls from 3 different staffing agencies wanting my business. And there were 3 people that called, and they called for 2 weeks in a row. And then after 2 weeks, 2 of them stopped calling me. The third person, she kept calling me every Friday. She put it on her to-do list. It literally took 1 minute. I never talked to her. She talked to my secretary. I didn't know her. I didn't hate her. I just had no reason to talk to her. But she was persistent. She called every Friday, left her name and number, built up a relationship with the receptionist, and she did this for 3 months. Now, I have no idea how long she would have continued on. But somewhere along that 3-month mark, my boss came into my office and he said, "Okay, I give in. I'm going to let you hire another manager." I said, "Hallelujah." And at that time, she called into the office. My receptionist came to the door and she said, "So-and-so's on the phone. Do you want to take the call?" As she'd done every Friday for the past 3 months. And I said, "Absolutely, I'm going to take that call." Because right then, whereas the person looking to get my business may have thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to be annoying her. She's going to get mad at me. She doesn't answer the phone, so she must hate me." Me, on the other hand, from my perspective, I was like, I don't have time to talk to her. I have no reason to talk to her. But her persistence, her effort to get my business, and she wasn't calling every day. She called once a week. So she was being politely persistent. She was showing me her effort in, if she put that much effort into getting my business, how much effort would she put in to make me a happy client? And you want to know what? She was just as fantastic in doing her job as she was in attempting to get my business. Because see, behaviors are important. And whereas you think you're annoying somebody, or you just give up because, oh, they didn't respond to me, what's the point? You don't know what's going on the other side. And I've talked about this in the other 3 webinars, that you have to forget about trying to decide why that person's not reacting to you the way you want them to, because it doesn't matter. What matters is how you show up. What matters is the effort that you put out. And see, the effort that you put out in job search or in any facet of life tells so much about the person you are and how much effort you are going to put out in whatever you do. So the next time there is an issue and you're like, well, I don't see the point in doing this again. You've only done it once. I don't see the point in doing this again. Think about, it's also showing to others what type of person you are, what you would do, what you're capable of doing. So definitely don't just give up after one shot. Think about any of the big success stories. Think about Thomas Edison. Okay, he did his electrical experiment, I think at least 100 times with the light bulb. I got to go back and check my facts on that. But he never gave up. Think about Michael Jordan. He'll be the first one to tell you he's successful because of all the times that he showed up in the gym to shoot those free throws. He'll also tell you about all the times that he failed when he was given the opportunity to hit that game-winning shot and he missed. Kobe Bryant. Any of the big success stories. They continued on. They did not give up. There was something innately in them, or they just put themselves in auto drive. I need to do this every single day. Because see, success doesn't come from the end result. Success comes from what you do every single day, consistently. Change your strategy. That's number 2 on how to be persistent. Change your strategy. So what you may be doing and you're not getting the results you want, maybe try doing it a different way. So if you're trying to reach somebody and you can't get them to respond to your email, maybe try calling them. Look at the situation and think, how can I do this in a different way? You know, as a teacher, if I have a student that's not getting the information, and I don't care if it's a math problem or it's a word problem or it's a comprehension problem or something like that. I look at different ways then to teach them the information, because there's more than one way to do anything. And so if you're having trouble being persistent about something and you're not having success with it, think about, what is a way I can do this differently and achieve the same result? Model someone successful. Maybe you want to be persistent and you want to succeed at something and you're having trouble. Look at other people. Look at them and see what they're doing. If you want to grow a business, the first thing they're going to say is you need to wake up earlier in the morning so you can get more done before you go to work. If you want to lose weight and it's not working for you, maybe there's another person who's doing a different type of food prep, diet exercise, a different type of weightlifting routine. Whatever it is, look at someone else who's being successful and see if maybe the way they're doing it would help you be successful. And then capitalize on the momentum. You know, when we talked about last month about SMART goals and not looking at something in the big picture, okay? So sometimes if something is overwhelming and you just don't have the persistence to keep going at it or trying at it, break it down into little bitty bits, because each bit, and when you accomplish it, you get this momentum going. So if you get one step done, then immediately start on that second step. So you're building up the momentum from the success of the first step. That's how you capitalize on momentum. Rest and then start again. You know, when things, when I'm trying to do something, whether it's setting up a website page or getting a client to pose for me, because I'm a photographer. That's a great one, because that's more. So say I'm getting a client and they're not comfortable. And so I'm not getting great shots because they're very stiff and they can't get a pose right. Maybe I want them to get rid of their double chin, okay? So a lot of times what I'll do, and I'm gonna turn sideways, I'll do stick your chin out like this and then tilt it down so that you're making that, you're pulling your shoulders back. From the front, it doesn't look weird. But normal people are not used to posing like that. And so if I have trouble and they're just not getting it, what I do is I tell them to shake it out, and now let's start over. And I start over working them into the position again. The same way for you. If you're frustrated because something is not working out right, take a break, go outside, rest, wait and do it the next day. And I've had to do that. If something is not right, or I'm stressed and I'm going too fast, I just take a break and I start again. Look at the big picture. So if you're having trouble staying persistent on the course, maybe it's a weight loss program. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Maybe you're having trouble because you're not seeing those quick results. Go back and look at the big picture. Look at where you started and where you are now and see how far you've come. Because that is kind of reverse psychology. Then you're looking to see what you have done and how far you've come. And that can help the persistence kick back in. Reward yourself. I'm still working on this one, but reward yourself for everything that you accomplish, for every try that you have. Maybe you're going to reward yourself, or maybe you set up a little piggy bank, and maybe every time that you attempt something again, maybe you can add a quarter to the jar. Or maybe, oh, I've done this for an entire week, I'm going to go have ice cream. Or maybe I've done this for an entire week, I'm not going to worry about my diet on Sunday. Or maybe I read this entire chapter today, maybe tomorrow I will not read and I'll watch a TV show. Whatever it is. Think about how you can reward yourself and stick to that. Remain optimistic. See, back in the first episode back in September, we talked about mindset. We talked about self-confidence and self-esteem, but really about mindset, because a lot of times mindset plays tricks with you. And if you listen to negative comments, if you tell yourself negative things, or if you constantly say, what's the point? That's going to affect persistence. But if you block all that out and you just keep telling yourself, I can get this. I can get this. I can do this. And you put all these other things that we've talked about today into practice, that may kick you over that threshold. That may kick you to the finish line. You have to remain optimistic. Okay, the ladder to success. So first of all, you've got to have determination. You've got to have that determination to succeed at something, whatever it is that you want to get done. Then you have to practice, you have to know that you're going to be dedicated to that. You've got to say, this is my goal, and I want to get this goal accomplished. I'm dedicating myself to doing this. Then the third step is the discipline to actually start doing the portions of it to get it done. The discipline of, I just need to do it. The fourth part, the fourth rung on that ladder is your attitude. And this goes back to that optimism thing. Not talking negatively about yourself. Not saying, what's the point? Not letting other people's chatter affect your attitude or affect your actual effort. Having that attitude of, if they can do it, I can do it. And the fifth rung to success is the being persistent. Because that's going into autopilot. That's knowing that if I want the end result to come, I have to keep doing this again and again and again and again. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they're the easiest examples for me to come up with. Because I remember the story about Kobe Bryant. He did the game-winning shot and missed on when he was, I think, a rookie in the NBA Finals, and he missed it. He went back into the gym that night and was shooting free throws over and over and over and over and over again. You see, people get good because they consistently do the same thing over and over until they build up a habit, because they know that they can't just do it once or twice and be a success. If it's something like that, the more they do it, the more they train their body to do it. The more you're persistent about doing something, the habit you're creating. Because see, persistence is not just being persistent about one activity. It's being persistent in every aspect of your life. Knowing that you're not going to give up after one attempt. Knowing that, yes, you got it right once, you still need to do it again. You've got to create that memory to your body. You've got to create the dedication to doing it right every single time. That's persistence. When no matter what the outcome is, you don't tell yourself anything different. You just continue to do it. Okay, now we're going to go into lack of persistence. I'm getting a little hot here, sorry. So lack of persistence. This weakness is common to the majority of people out there, sadly enough. The lack of persistence, because we talked about in the beginning when we started this webinar that our greatest weakness is in giving up. Majority of people out there have this weakness. They lack persistence. How many of you actually feel like you lack persistence? Like how many of you feel like you're just going to give up after one shot? Just put that in the chat box. Yes, if you are, no, if you don't. Yeah. There are times I give up. I'm not to that point where I'm persistent about everything. I'm still working on that. But it is a common weakness. So don't think that you are the only person that feels like that. Cheryl says no. Okay. So persistence actually can be overcome by effort. That's that word again, effort. It can be overcome by effort. The ability to overcome will depend on your intensity of your desire. So let's think about that. If you desire a certain result, your ability to overcome and continue and be persistent will be greater than if that end result you don't desire as much. It's kind of like if you don't, when we talked about direction last month, if you're not really super excited about where you want to go or what it is you want to do, then the ability to overcome your lack of persistence will actually be, you'll be less able to do that. You have to be super devoted to achieving that outcome in order to believe enough to keep doing and being persistent. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. We talked about that a lot in direction last month. What you want to do, where you want to go, you have to have a desire to do that. Because if there is no desire to take the class, lose the weight, whatever that is, if there's no desire for that achievement, you won't succeed. You see, all of these things, persistence alone can't get you to the end result if you don't have the desire for the end result. If you don't have the mindset for the end result, if you don't have some of the motivation for the end result, they all tie together. But you can have motivation and everything else, but if you don't keep trying, the persistence is the key to that final success. If you don't keep that up, then you're not going to succeed. Tommy Baker wrote a great book, The 1% Rule, How to Fall in Love with the Process and Achieve Your Wildest Dreams. And he says, however, it's important to recognize that persistence is a muscle that can and must be worked on daily. And that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I talked about how I'm not persistent in everything I do. And that is something I'm working on, because in order to truly achieve success, you have to be persistent in everything you do. And so that's also when we look back at the desire thing, you need to look at everything you're doing and saying, okay, I need to pick the things that I desire to truly have an outcome. Because if you go back and look at direction last month, if you have something that you're not really gung-ho about doing or achieving, then it's going to be really, really hard to achieve that success. But for persistence to really be taught to you, to really push yourself, you have to have that same can-do attitude in everything that you do. Okay, persistence in job search specifically. So why do you need persistence in job search? Can anybody tell me, anybody want to type into the chat box why you feel that persistence is needed in job search? If you want to give me some answers. Anyone? Why do you feel persistence is needed in job search? It can be discouraging and easy to give up. Yes, Amy, it can. It can. So why do you need it? You will get lots of rejections. Absolutely, Pamela. Or no responses. Absolutely. So why you need it? Show persistence or lose. Because if you don't keep trying, you're not going to get that result at all. You have to keep that in mind, that show that persistence, do that, or you just simply are going to lose no matter what. Yes, Katie, you have to keep it at yes until you find out what it is for you. That's exactly right. Show persistence or be forgotten. That's the thing I see the most about. If you don't keep being persistent, you will be forgotten. When I talked about the lady that kept calling me for 3 months, see, I didn't even need to meet her, because after 3 months of her calling me politely once a week, I already knew what type of person and what type of job she was going to do for me. I already saw that. I didn't even need to know anything else about her. So she'd already shown me. But the other thing is, because she persisted, I remembered her. I would never have remembered the other two people. Persistence inspires and motivates others. See, employers expect that. Leaders expect that. Job search is, and I can't speak for, I can't speak for everybody out there, because everybody's different. We have millions of people in this country. But for me, as a department head, as a person that would interview and decide who I was going to hire for my department, it was important that I see they could be persistent at their job. Because there's nothing that I hated more than having somebody try to do one thing and give up and come there and expect me to do it for them. Now I understand if they didn't understand how to do it, or I needed to train them. But being persistent, going that extra mile, is motivating. And if a leader, if you are a department head, or you're looking for a job as a department head, you have to show the traits that you want your employees to show. Seeing somebody do something over and over and over again, that inspires and it motivates. Rocky Balboa, to see all of the times he got beaten and he was in the gym working out, that story was inspiring because he didn't give up. And the with. You can't control if they have no regard for persistent behavior. And when I say persistent, I always calling them every single day. I don't mean that. Or you're sending them an email, which done to me, and in the subject header wrote politely, but it can be inspiring when you see people that just keep doing it and then finally win or finally get it done, or they just always go that extra mile. You know, I love watching the Olympic Games. I love those can-do stories, or seeing during the marathon portion where, you know, that person is basically crawling on the ground, but they don't give up and they pass that finish line. That's more inspiring to me than the person. The one-time contact is rarely enough. I'm going to email somebody one time, and if they don't respond, they're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. Maybe you want to work for their company. Maybe you want to work for them in their department. You can't just have one contact, because it goes back to you can be forgotten. You have to continuously connect with them. Now, obviously, not every single connection you make, but the ones you work for, you want to interview with, you have to put that effort in. Just as you would if you live away from your family or your brother, to call them once a week. To keep in touch. Little sister and his little sister on their own little sister. And we go back to that thing about my story. The key is timing. And you may never know if you're meeting somebody at the wrong time. But timing can be everything. You just won't know it. So you may reach out to somebody and they may not respond to you. You may wait 2 weeks and reach out to them again, and the timing may be perfect then. So they're all these times have to be on autopilot and think about, this is what I need to do now, and just keep doing it. This is what I need to do every single day. So let's look at the life cycle. The life cycle of everything. So you start out full of optimism when you start something new. I'm so excited, okay? Time passes. Maybe because things are more difficult, maybe you're getting bored, but your optimism starts fading. Your job search then becomes stagnated. I should have put the job search life cycle. So you start out full of optimism. I'm going to get me a job. I just got laid off. I'm going to get a job. Time passes and you're not getting the results that you want. Your optimism fades. And then your job search becomes stagnated, because then you've stopped doing the things you were doing every day. And this is where you need the persistence to step in. You need to continue to network. You need to continue to email people. You need to continue to look for those target companies you want to work for. You need to continue to reach out to people. You need to continue to show up on LinkedIn. It's the most undervalued platform out there. This is when you go into autopilot. You may not feel like doing these, but you need to keep doing them. Serena Williams has the greatest quote that she said in an interview a few months ago. She said, there are days I don't feel like working out, but there is never a day I feel like losing. Stick that up on your wall. There are days you may not feel like networking, emailing people, sending out cover letters and resumes, researching, attending another Zoom meeting. But you want to get a job, and you want to get a good job that makes you happy. And so be on autopilot and do those things every day. Back either the first or second, when I talked about choices, we have choices, whether you think you do or not. Every moment you have a choice. You have a choice to do. I had a friend of mine, she did a post on Facebook one day and she said, I don't feel like walking tonight, because she was trying to lose some weight. She goes, I don't feel like walking tonight, but I think back to all the kids at St. Jude. They don't feel like going to chemo either, but they do it anyway. So if you get into that point where I don't feel like doing this, do it anyway. Make that choice right then, whether you feel like it or not, to do it anyway. Because consistency, repetition, doing it whether you feel like it or not, success will come from that. That is persistence. So what's your plan? First, no matter what stage of job search you're in right now, maybe you're needing a reboot, maybe you're just getting into it. Heck, maybe you're not even in it. Maybe you're just here for something else. First, get organized, because there's nothing more debilitating than being unorganized and not being able to find anything. That'll be the first thing that will crash your motivation and make you just want to give up. So get organized. The second thing is write down your specific goals. We talked about this last month. The ASAP, immediate goals, your short-term goals, your intermediate goals, and your long-term goals. Write those down. Think about what those are. Your ASAP goals will be like your LinkedIn profile. You need to get that up now. Your resume, you need to get that up now. Short-term would be work on cover letters, work on a job board specific resume that's designed specifically to be read by computers. That would be a short term. Intermediate, maybe a certification class that you need. Maybe you need to brush up on some skills. Long term may be, what's my financial plan going to be? Do I need to budget for and control my expenses in the long run? Do I need to look at getting a part-time job? Those are long-term things to think about. Create a schedule. I'll be the first one to say that working from home, because before the pandemic, I worked part of the time from home anyway, and I did a couple of different things, so I had to be super organized. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I am not the most super organized person out there. I'm not. But the one thing that I had to start doing was writing a schedule so that I knew, to keep my anxiety at bay, what I had to get done for the week. And I broke that down into what I needed to get done each day. So I've started using, and I'm going to be using this for the new year, what's called a passion planner. So I use the weekly one. And then I also decided that I was going to get the daily one, because the daily one actually gave me an entire page that I could actually use as a journal. So I am starting to journal and write down things that happen during the day, so I can remember them, because I don't want to put them on my digital calendar. I write down things that maybe I don't want to forget, and I don't want to grab a piece of paper somewhere, because every piece of paper on my desk is white, and I'm the worst at like picking up a piece of paper, turning it over, scribbling something over it, and then forgetting where it is. So now I've got everything in one place, but creating that schedule, knowing what I've got to do this week, and then looking at my deadlines, and then writing down the days that I'm going to be doing those tasks, creating a schedule. And that comes in job search, really critical. Creating a schedule so that you're not doing the same thing all day long. Maybe it's an hour on LinkedIn in the morning. Maybe it is 15 minutes on emailing. Maybe it is an hour researching companies in the afternoon. Break it up so you're not doing one thing all day long. Track your activity and measure it. It goes back to those SMART goals, being measurable. Daily and weekly. So you should always set weekly goals and daily goals. And it goes back to those SMART goals, making sure they're measurable. Maybe you want to connect with 5 new people in the space industry today, or maybe you want to connect with 3 people in Methodist Hospital, or maybe whatever that goal is. Write those goals down so that at the end of the day in the week, you can see that you've accomplished those. Track it, put it down so that you can see it, because it goes back to what we talked about in a few slides back. Look at the big picture. So sometimes when you get discouraged, go back and look at the big picture and see all the things that you have actually accomplished. Batch your activities. If you're going to be researching companies, don't just do one now. Do 3 now. Get that done. Do 3 or 4 now. And then start looking at contacts within those companies. If you need to write several versions of cover letters, do that in one sitting. Maybe you're going to be applying to 5 different companies. You can still use the same cover letter. You may have to tweak it in certain places. Sit down and write all of those at one time so that you're not going back and forth. Send out emails all at one time. Jot down notes of who you want to send them to and maybe some bullet points, and then sit down and do those all in one little segment of space. Look for new ways to market yourself, like video resumes. You can post that on LinkedIn in your summary section. Social media posts on LinkedIn. Look at new ways to talk about, educate people on what you do. That's really critical. It's not about talking about yourself. It's educating people on what is the need, what does someone need an accountant for? What does a small business person need an accountant for? Why does this company need a mechanical engineer? What is a mechanical engineer? What types of things do you do as a mechanical engineer? Educate people on your knowledge of what you do and get them to understand what you do. Martin Luther King Jr., he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. You really do. You have to keep moving. Okay, recap. Repeat your efforts. You might be doing all the right things, but perhaps the timing is not right. Change your strategy. If something's not working, change it, because you might be doing it the wrong way. And there may be a better way to do it that gets you the success. Oh, Nandy says, thank you so much. My ultimate goal is to replan to become a subcontractor with the government. Okay, good. Model someone successful. Look at maybe how they've approached things. Capitalize on that momentum. If you're riding high, then capitalize on that. Mark, you'll have to ask Willie about that. I'm not sure how you can access the seminar series online. Rest and then start again. If things are not going right, clear your head, wait till the next day, get all that out. Look at the big picture. Sometimes you need to look at the little bitty parts in order to keep the momentum going, but sometimes going back and looking at what you've done so far, looking at the big picture. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I've accomplished. Reward yourself, no matter what kind of reward that is. So Queen says, I'm all motivated about planning for the next day, the future, but then the one day comes and I'm at 0. So Queen, what I would say is you need to look at either breaking things down in smaller goals that you can attempt, or realize at that moment that you have a choice. Even if you don't feel like it, you can just give up, or you can try just one more time. And that's when I'm going to say, that's when I would look at other people. You know, when somebody says that they don't have a lot of things, or they don't have what other people have when they're successful, I say, go look at people that don't have as much as you do. Because if I complain about not wanting to do something, or I can't do something right, I go and look at people that maybe have less than I do. And I think, if they can do it, I can do it. Okay, Willie says, the webinar should be available on the U of M Alumni Center services webpage in about a week. Queen says, I do get overwhelmed by the magnitude of the plan. I really do need to do it. Yes, in bite sizes. And maybe and when I talk about scheduling things out, I'm actually doing a free webinar. So I'm going to pitch myself for a second. I'm actually doing a free webinar next Thursday about planning out your 2021. It's a free 1-hour masterclass. This will be on my own. And I think that would be a great one for you to take to really understand how it's like putting up your laundry. When you look at the whole bag, the whole thing of laundry, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to even have to do that. But if you segregate it out by the types of clothes, and then you just focus on one thing of clothes and you do that right now, you fold those up and you put that away, and then you come back to the second one. That's really what's going to help you, Queen, is really breaking those down and then not looking at everything else, focusing on what you have to do right now. Remain optimistic. You have to remain optimistic. That is a choice as well. That is a choice. So I've got 2 books I recommend for you guys. Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. I'll show you in just a second. I'll type that into it's actually going to be, let me do that right now. You can go to my website. Oops, and it's also my LinkedIn. And I've got 2 times. So you can go to that website and you can sign up. I've got 2 different time periods that I'm hosting. But Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance is one by Angela Duckworth. It's a fantastic book. The other one that we talked about in the class, I mentioned it, was The 1% Rule, How to Fall in Love with the Process and Achieve Your Wildest Dreams. And that's kind of a short book. They're both relatively inexpensive. I always get the Kindle editions. The other thing I would say is, if you're tight on money, check the local library, because even in where I am, the local library actually has electronic books that you can check out. So do that if you, especially right now, Amazon or whoever is not really delivering. If you can't shop local, then I would say that really look at other ways that you can get that. Even call like Goodwill and see if they have books. But I know this one right here, the 1% Rule, is relatively, it's under $10, and Grit, you can probably get a used book, if not at the library. Okay, the secret to everything is you have to believe in yourself. You have to. Because see, it takes just as much energy to believe in yourself as it does to not believe in yourself. So why not go ahead and believe in yourself? Okay, we can connect. Let's connect online. I love this. And Instagram, I'm official Sandy Adams. I have a common name. I moved from Houston. It used to have Houston in the title. When I moved, I was like, I didn't realize I was going to move. I'm not going to do that again, although I'm not going to move from Tennessee again, but never say never. So it's official Sandy Adams. On Facebook, it's the same. LinkedIn, it's Sandy Adams-Studio. And YouTube, it's Sandy Adams Company. I have great videos on there and a lot of different subjects dealing with marketing yourself, leadership, believing in yourself, those kind of things. And also my podcast, some of my podcast episodes are on there. And if you want to be inspired, I've done several interviews with people, professors that used to teach for U of M, handball players from 1990. We had nine consecutive seasons of handball championships from Memphis State University, in case you didn't know that. So I've got lots of really inspirational podcasts on my Seven Girls View podcast. My main website is Sandy-Adams. The social atelier is you can get there from there as well. My podcasts are a Sandy Adams Show and a Southern Girls View, as Willie mentioned. You can get those from my website as well, but they're also both on iTunes and Spotify. U of M on LinkedIn. You need to connect with the University of Memphis on LinkedIn, and also Willie. You can connect with Willie on LinkedIn as well. Go get him, Tiger. See that? See that? Okay, does anybody have any more questions before? I did really good time today. Does anybody have any more questions? Anyone? I think that's, yeah. Yep, that's the last one. Oh, you guys are quite welcome. You're quite welcome. I'm glad you've enjoyed this. And so Willie and I will be talking about some things we can do in the future, hopefully so. So if you liked this webinar series, let Willie know that. Let him know. I'd love to be brought back. Oh, you're quite welcome. So Opal, if it doesn't, send me a message through my website and I will go in there and check that as soon as we get off of this webinar. So I'm going to write your name down and then I will go and check that. Okay, guys. Any other questions? Urbana is about a 2-hour drive southeast of Chicago. Are you asking, are you telling me to smile? So I'm sure you're very cold up there, although it's 70 degrees here today. But I will say that that was a big shock for me. I grew up in Tennessee and I moved to Houston in 2004. I am quite used to the hot weather there. So it's been a bit of adjustment to be in the 19, 20, 30 degree weather on a continuous basis. I had to, I miss Memphis too. I miss it. That's why I moved back. That is why I moved back, and best decision I made, even though I've had to like redo some of my business opportunities. Best decision. I'm probably going to have to buy some more warm weather clothing because I don't have that much anymore. So it's been very interesting, but I'm very happy to be back. And I love the university. I got 2 degrees from there, and I just can't. I actually have a Memphis State University degree and a University of Memphis, and I cannot say enough about just all the opportunities the school afforded me, all the things I got to do, all the people I got to meet, and just amazing. And I thank Willie and the University of Memphis for inviting me to do this webinar series so much. Okay, everyone. Opal, I'll make sure to go and check on that. If you'll just make sure you send me a message so I can let you know as soon as it's updated. It'll just take me just a few minutes to do that. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. You're quite welcome. Oh, excellent, excellent, wonderful. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the day. Bye. Well, I'm going to say